man, look at that seamless transition. Oh, Lewis, I forgot the tweet.
It's too late. Jeez, how could you forget something like the tweet?
You kept talking my ear off. I believe you. Oh, great. We had a smooth opening there. There was none of your phlegm noises, and you ruined it. I thought maybe we could go live without.
Trending in the United States, Caped Crusader. I'm terrified to click on that one.
My immediate thought was Lewis has been having fun on the weekends. All right, we're live, Lewis. Boom, and we're live. We're waiting for them all to pile in. Jay Cruz is here. He wants a very enthusiastic and aggressive yeah. There you go, Jay. I don't want to hear nothing about it, Lewis. All right, should I write a tweet real fast, Lewis, while we're going here? Yeah. Lewis and I have been hanging out talking about the movie Something About Mary for the last 30 minutes, which we both just happened to watch. Now, that is actually a weird coincidence because you don't really ever watch any movies, and I don't feel like I can ever actually bring up movie references with you, but you actually have watched this, so we could actually discuss it. And you watched it recently, right?
That's one of the few movies I've ever watched twice in my life. I mean, I almost never watch a movie 2 times. Almost never.
I find that hard to believe because that's like pretty much all I do.
Well, did you ever think that maybe instead of rewatching one movie, you could watch a different one you never saw?
Hey, Lewis, have you ever listened to a song more than once?
Songs take 3 minutes.
Okay. Why would you ever listen to a song more than once? You already heard it, Lewis. There's a whole world of songs out there.
Yeah, it's different. A movie is a 2-hour time commitment.
Gotcha. Checkmate, Lewis. Well, you don't have to watch it all at one time. But the reason I like watching movies that I've seen before is because I don't have to pay attention. I always feel guilty watching a movie that I haven't seen and doing something else because I'm like, I'm not really watching the movie. I don't get to experience it. But if you've already seen it, then you can just be in the atmosphere of the movie and kind of get the feeling that you're watching the movie without actually having to pay attention. It's great. I know Leander Caney's with me. He does this all the time.
Yeah, he never watches movies. He's watching.
Yeah, he's always doing something else. I don't think he actually ever sits there and watches something all the way through. But it's kind of hard to do. Like you said, it's a 2-hour commitment. Now you got to sit there the whole time and do nothing the whole time. Like the only time I do that, I think, is with new shows. Like The Mandalorian. I'll sit there and watch the whole Mandalorian for 40 minutes and not do anything else. All right, you're distracting me.
You know what's weird, though, is that we both watched that within the last couple of weeks. And I watched it because it was on Apple TV Plus, and you watched it because it was on something else. When you said you saw it, I thought for sure you just watched it on Apple TV Plus.
I didn't even see it on Apple TV Plus. I'm not even sure I still have a subscription to Apple TV Plus. I think I might have canceled my my extended trial. Although
redo it.
I'm gonna be trying it again to see if they'll give it to me for another 3 months.
Ted Lasso's coming up, man.
That's one of the shows I have. I just zero interest in watching.
Have you watched it ever?
No.
Well,
I just have. It's about soccer, right?
No,
I just could not care less about.
It's about the power of optimism and human connections.
Yeah. All right. Well, when you make it sound that way, I'm still not interested. But I'm not interested in human connections at all, Lewis. I'm all about technology. If you can't plug it in, I don't care, Lewis. You know that. Let's hear. Let me post this. Let me post this tweet. We'll get them all rolling in, and then we'll start the show. We got a lot of stuff to talk about here this week, and now we're just blabbing. Show of hands in the chat. How would you guys like it if we said we were doing an Apple show, but we never actually talked about anything Apple news? We just talked about whatever we wanted. 2 hours. It's practically what we do now anyway. But once we go live, that's when everything changes. We button it up real quick. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, this is good enough, Lewis. Let me know if I have any spelling errors or grammar errors in there. Now they're all pouring in. Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Streamline. Shout out to Dan DeWitt who says, "Oh, hey, LK." Can we get the moderator in here? Tie up that boot. Put it right in his keister. And I want at least 6 inches of insertion right up that keister. Get him out of here. Let's see. We got Dead Eid. We got MacBook Foe. Okay. AKA I like PCs. All right. Let's get this thing rolling. Should we, Lewis? I'll cue up Mrs. D.
Sure, let's do it.
And we'll get right into the show. Let's see here. Oh, Mrs. D. Oh, that's not her. Mrs. D, where are you? Oh, Mrs. D, your extra exuberant tonight. Oh, yes. What have you been up to? Oh, I had a drive-by fruiting, and then I had a nice candlelit dinner with one Mr. LK. Oh, that's so nice. And for once that she didn't actually talk about what happened afterwards. Oh, we made sweet love. Oh, God, I set myself up for that, Lewis. And I was wearing my furry outfit. Okay, all right, that's enough. That's enough. And so was LK. Oh, why am I not surprised that he's into such things? Not surprised at all. I set myself up for that. If you don't mind, Mrs. D, that's not what I want to talk about here today. We got a lot of Apple news. And if you don't mind, we'll get the music going, get your vocal cords warmed up for that beautiful, sweet introduction, and we'll get the show rolling in 3. Oh, it didn't work. What happened?
Oh, whoa!
Let's try
Band's
again.
asleep.
You know what happened? It was the FX board that we were doing earlier. Remember the FX board?
What do you mean?
Are you ready to go, Lewis?
All right. 3, 2. Hello! And welcome to the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. This is already off the rails, Lewis. Already off the rails. I'm your host, Aaron Elijah. Joining me today. Where is he? Oh, there he is. He likes to read books on medieval punishment devices to get inspiration on how to better motivate the Tomass writing team. I heard he was considering installing an Iron Maiden, so the California Labor Bureau advised that wouldn't be acceptable. Bureaucrats, am I right, Liz? He's the managing editor of Tomass. Lewis Wallace is here.
Fine band, and also apparently a fairly effective device.
That's what I hear. And I think fair punishment for slow typing speeds. They'll never make that mistake again. We got Tomass in here saying, still no LK. I was hoping for some oregano stories. Well, that's the problem. That the oregano is the problem, I suspect. Is he found that 5-gallon bag of oregano, and I seriously doubt he's even half done with that thing. Although I'm sure he's trying his best. And I don't think that he's motivated enough to come back on the show until that huge bag is done. But we'll get him. Eventually, he'll run out of that bag of illegal narcotics, and he may make time for the show. But in the meantime, what else do you need? You got me. You got Lewis. Could we use a little British guy? Yeah, little British guy action. I think that would be helpful.
When you said a little British guy.
The way I said that was a little weird. But think actually how great that would be for the show. Like if we could find a really little British guy, like, I don't know, 2 to 3 feet tall and have him on the show.
Like an actual munchkin?
Yeah, but with a British accent. Doesn't Howard Stern do something like that?
What kind of accents did the Munchkins have? I guess Munchkin accents.
Well, which ones are you talking about? Are you talking about the ones from
the Chocolate Factory?
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were talking about that or oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the Over the Rainbow movie.
Right,
those were like the actual Munchkins.
Yeah,
What's
right.
the name
I'm
of that
thinking
movie?
of Oompa Loompas.
Yeah, that's
that's
initially what I was thinking of too.
Sorry about that. Oh, we started off with a factual error.
Yeah, well, that took longer than normal. What's the name of the movie I'm thinking of?
Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz. I cannot believe I forgot the name of that. The Wizard of Oz. Thank you, chat.
My favorite Munchkins are the ones from Phantasm, though.
Phantasm?
Don't tell me you've never seen Phantasm. Oh my God!
I've never even heard of it.
Another tangent.
I've never even heard of it.
Back on track. Right,
yeah.
Revert.
Yeah, some of you may notice that Cult Command looks a little bit different. That's because I've reorganized, created, I moved things around so I could start rebooting my YouTube channel, which I did. And if you missed it, youtube.com/EarphanElijah. And I got my Mega Desk here, which I think eventually I'll make a video on. I built a 98-inch desk, which just
Mega Desk,
which is awesome because I have all of my all of my computing stuff here. I've got Colt Commander over here with my 2 monitors, and then I have my Apple Studio display right over here with my Mac, and I can just move around from station to station depending on what I need to do. It's pretty cool. Let's see here. Before we dive in, let me see. We should probably give a quick thank you to Collide for supporting this episode. Let me bring up their webpage so you can all see Collide. Yeah, there we go. Lewis, our sponsor is Collide, and they have some big news.
Big news?
If you're an Okta user, you can get your entire fleet to 100% compliance. Now, I like the way that Collide does it because I know you get your fleet to compliance as well, but you use illegal methods and violence that we can't condone here on the show, although secretly we do condone them. Collide does it in a much more humane way. If a device isn't compliant, the user can't log into your cloud apps until they fix the problem. It's that simple, Lewis. Collide patches one of the major holes in zero trust architecture, device compliance. Without Collide, IT struggles to solve basic problems like keeping everyone's OS and browser up to date. Unsecured devices are logging into your company's apps because there's nothing there to stop them. You don't have a Lewis Wallace there with brass knuckles. And if you did, you're probably going to go to jail because that's not legal. Collide is the only device trust solution that enforces compliance as part of authentication, and it's built to work seamlessly with Okta. The moment Collide's agent detects a problem, it alerts the user and gives them instructions to fix it. If they don't fix the problem within a set time, boom, they're blocked. Collide's method means fewer support tickets, less frustration, and most importantly, Lewis, 100% compliance, which I know is what you demand from all your Cultimac writers.
They don't actually use an ED209, do they?
Not that I know of. I don't even know what that means.
Remember RoboCop? You have 20 seconds to comply.
I'm going to suggest that to them as an alternate method for people that just drag their feet and don't comply. You will comply. Visit Collide. Visit Collide.com/CultCast to learn more or to book a demo. That's KOLIDE.com/CultCast. Collide.com/CultCast. Thanks to Collide for sponsoring this episode and for dealing with our ridiculous deliveries of these sponsorships. But we gotta inject some fun into these, don't we, Lewis? All right.
Mandatory fun.
You must. It is 100% mandatory, or we send that machine after you. What was that thing called?
ED209.
I can't believe that you remember that. Is that big thing with like 2 legs that walks around? And the guns
boardroom,
for arms?
They had the boardroom problem.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen
That's the thing. I remember specific scenes from movies, but like only one.
The only
just like,
one.
The bleeder scene from There's Something About Mary. A specific scene like that is so strong it just imprints on my brain. I can forget the details of the plot, even how the movie ends, but I'll remember that one scene.
Oh man, you got to get this ED209 for the Cultimac offices. Talk about a motivational piece of machinery. Just have this thing going, walking around the office with its turret for arms.
Oh my God. I remember watching that movie. It was after a really late night working at a bar in Cincinnati. I was watching somebody's house. And man, when that happened, I was like terrified. I mean, that scene just terrified me. And yeah, I don't know. That's a great one.
From RoboCop?
Yeah.
RoboCop affected you? You had to
That one scene in particular just gave me the creeps.
That's hilarious. All right. Let's talk about some Apple stuff, Lewis. Who's going first, me or you?
Dare we?
I think it's going to be old Lewis Wallace. Talk about your favorite color iPhone is now a reality, Lewis. I know you were real sweet on this one, and here we go.
Everyone is so happy. We finally have a yellow iPhone.
You know what? My dad has a yellow iPhone.
I guess.
They had the iPhone XR that was yellow.
Yeah.
He got one.
It's not the first yellow phone, but this one, I haven't seen one of these in person. It actually looks yellowish as opposed to like their blue, which doesn't really look blue, or the purple, which doesn't look purple. But their amazing marketing materials might be deceptive. You might get there that might look like off-white. Anyway, this week they rolled out the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus in yellow.
Yeah.
Yellow.
Yeah.
We're all very excited. How do you like that yellow? You think it's going to look actually yellow in person?
I think it will, because it reminds me exactly of my dad's iPhone 10R, which was almost exactly this color.
Really?
I
bet it's not going to be that bold.
And I wasn't a fan, Lewis. I wasn't a fan then. I'm not a fan now. I don't like yellow sports cars. There's really nothing that I like that's yellow.
Bananas? How about bananas?
I would be fine if they weren't yellow, though. I mean, and actually, only the peel is yellow. Like the banana itself is white.
Yeah, well, that's probably about the actual color that this thing will look like if you're inside under fluorescent lights.
It looks pretty dang yellow to me. I just think, like, out of all the freaking colors that we could get, this is what they went with. It truly is perplexing. I don't understand their color choices.
Yeah, well, no one does, and we keep complaining about it, right? And they didn't even give new versions of the Pro models, right? It's
at least not yet. Yeah,
only come out with magenta.
Yeah, or something else that's going to be totally lame. I thought that they might come out with a new color Pro soon, because my local Costco is doing like this crazy rebate on current or older model iPhones. They'll give you up to $800 of discount for any phone that's worth $150 or more. And I was like, wow, that's a pretty big discount. So I thought maybe they were trying to liquidate them, and maybe that is true, and we'll get an updated iPhone 14 Pro color, because I would imagine at some point we will get one, but maybe not. I mean, if they're already releasing a new color of the iPhone 14 and they haven't done the Pro, then at this point it kind of seems like they're just not going to do the Pro.
Yeah, maybe they'll release product red.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps, but if they were going to do a new color, you would think that they would have already done it alongside this update. But if you want to get your hands on the yellow, you don't have to go buy this phone, because let's be honest, no one here watching this show is going to care about this iPhone 14, I don't think. And if you want just the yellow, Lewis, we got an exciting announcement for them, don't we?
The freebie that you can now get.
Yeah, if you just want the color yellow, but you don't want to buy the phone. Yeah,
you could just give your old your regular iPhone a nice new yellow wallpaper. It's available for download now. What the heck? Why not?
I mean,
that actually looks pretty good. What do you think?
It's a little too bold, in my opinion.
I
kind of busy.
We were always screaming for bold.
Well, I'm a bold guy, but I like my colors to be muted.
Okay.
Or to have a dash of flair. I'm more of a dash of flair type guy.
A dash of flair.
If I love things that are covered with glitter, but I don't want the whole thing to be glittery. Unless it's a guitar or bass guitar, then I'm cool with it. But I don't mind having some glitter, but it has to be a small piece that you can feature on your outfit, if you will, Lewis. I don't want the whole phone to be glittery. Anyway, there you go. If you want a yellow phone or yellow wallpaper, that's your option. And as long as we're talking about iPhone 15 or iPhones, I thought we should at least cover this story. We got some iPhone 15 news. I'm not really sure how I feel about this. For multiple reasons. I'm not sure how I feel about this feature, but now we got to talk about 9 to 5 Mac, I believe. Yeah. I'm sorry, everyone. It could be worse. We could be going to Vox. Let me see here if I can find the story. Is there anything worse than going to Vox, Lewis? Not that I think.
Daily Beast.
That's Daily Beast. Okay, touche. It looks like I don't have this webpage up, so let me just go ahead and bring this up.
Oh,
fast.
Dear heavens.
Don't worry. It's easily fixable.
So hard to find good help these days.
You're telling me. All right, here we go. Back to 9 to 5 Mac. Exclusive. iPhone 15 Pro to have new unified volume buttons with pressing type mute button. So let's see here. 9 to 5 Mac, according to their source, who's familiar with making certified accessories for Apple products, aka they make cases. The iPhone 15 Pro models will ditch the separate volume up and volume down buttons for a new single button that works both ways depending on where the user presses it. So is it like a rocker button?
I was going to say it's a rocker.
I'm fine with a rocker. What I hope it's not is capacitive. I'm not a huge fan of capacitive buttons, and I I can envision a scenario where you keep accidentally pressing it. In addition, the source told us that the classic mute switch will be replaced by a new pressing type button, which suggests the button will also be capacitive and users will have to force press it to put the phone into silent mode. Okay. I mean, depending on how that works, that could be cool. Force pressing it, because I feel like force pressing takes longer than just pressing a normal button, which is annoying. So I'll withhold judgment on that until we see what actually happens. Let's see here. Anything else worth noting? No. There you go. We've got some CADs. 9to5 Mac scooped up the talented Ian Zelbo, so he's working for them now. All these CADs are his, or all these mock-ups are his. So hey, I redesigned volume button instead of 2 buttons. That may be capacitive with possibly a new capacitive mute button. What do you think about that, Lewis?
Kind of worried about the capacitive mute button. I mean, even my little physical mute button sometimes gets turned on and off, and if it turns into some capacitive thing, it seems like it happen all the time, potentially.
Yeah, that's kind of my concern. Which, well, to make sure that doesn't happen, you have to force touch, right? So you have to sit there and hold it for a second, like you do with your AirPods. The capacitive touch to pause and unpause music.
Yeah, which I don't
which
like
I kind of
really
hate
too much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's they over architected it. I thought the tapping on it was a way more elegant solution. Tapping on your AirPod to start and stop the audio, because it was easy to do. You only needed one finger and it worked pretty reliably. Whereas I feel like with that little pinch mechanism that they do on the new AirPods, it doesn't always register that you're pinching it. And you have to have 2 fingers. So it's just harder to do than it was before.
And it also, doesn't it tend to mess with the orientation of the thing in your ear, which, I mean, it seems like I'm way more often making my AirPod not sound as good when I'm doing that, rather than in the old days,
shifting
because they're super sensitive to the the direction of the little outlet or whatever it is called, the thing that jams in your ear hole. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I definitely kind of like those. I definitely like the tap better than the new version on the AirPods 3. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this whole move into capacitive touch. I know what you mean. It does sometimes take longer. Well, not sometimes. It always takes longer by definition.
60% of the time, it works every time, Lewis. Let's see here. MKBHD did a review of the yellow iPhone, and it's lighter than the XR and the Banana. Okay. Maybe a little bit lighter.
Yeah, see, that's just what I'm afraid of. It kind of has that deceptive, it's a little bit, brighter in the image than it is when you see it in person.
Streamlined is surprised that 9to5 Mac hired Ian Zelbo to make John Prosser angry. I doubt that, but I was surprised they hired him too. Because Ian Zelbo, if you don't know, he's this talented, he calls himself a 3D artist, and I hope they're paying him enough for what he does, because I think that his work is what we always see featured on different websites. His mock-ups are always the one everyone uses. They look really good. I mean, for the small amount of time that he's been doing mock-ups, he's really learned it fast, and his mock-ups look better than anyone else's, and so I was kind of surprised that they scooped him up to do work for them full time, because I thought he was working with Front Page Tech, but who knows? I mean, maybe they've definitely got a big need for mock-ups on their website and stuff. So, but yeah, he's working for 9to5 Mac now, as far as I know. Let's see here. Did you want to mention real quick, Lewis, the other announcement that happened, the new Apple straps, the watch straps?
Yeah, why not? Let's see if I can find it.
You want to talk about the Hermes?
My very favorite one is the Hermes. The $600 Hermes Apple Watch band.
And it is ugly. It is one ugly strap, Lewis.
Very even-handed headline on our website, comparing it to unicorn vomit. It is a pretty hideous-looking thing, I think, and even more hideous is the price tag. If you read what they said about it, they said that these multicolor bands are, quote, based on or inspired by, quote, bold jerseys worn by horse jockeys.
Hey, look, there's even a horse face.
Yeah, nice horse watch face. I don't know that that's. I mean, they've had a horse face before. I don't know if this is a different horse face. I just don't get. I don't know that I've ever seen one of these things in person, but I don't know. If I do, I might have to
haven't
ask the
either.
person.
I'm definitely
Hey,
not the demo for this. I mean, like,
why did you pay $600 for that?
yeah, you paid $600 for a watch strap that it looks like you could have bought on Amazon for $60. You could buy a nice looking watch strap for $60.
Also, as our story said, doesn't come with a watch. I mean, you could get. I mean, that's a lot of money for a stupid watch band, man. I don't understand. I just don't get. I don't get fashion. I mean, I suppose you could tell that by looking at me any given day, but it's just kind of mind blowing that there is even such a thing. And this all brings back to mind like the whole fashion push remember that when the Apple Watch first came out, it was like they had special little stands in fashion stores. I can't remember what they were, but because I of course don't pay any attention to fashion, but yeah, they also came out, for us normals, they also came out with some other spring colored bands, which are, I don't know, pretty boring. And what are they? Canary yellow, olive, sprout green, purple fog.
Purple fog.
Yeah,
That
which
sounds
is what you
like-
get right after Purple Rain.
I was going to say, that sounds like the perpetual state that LK lives in. The purple fog.
I mean, if you look at the picture, bright orange, it's not really bright. I don't know. They're
It's more
it's
like
like
muted.
whoever's in charge of all their color things is colorblind, or maybe I've got weird eyes. I mean, that's possible.
No,
Maybe
they look
I
like
just,
pastel Easter colors to me, but
yeah.
Well, you know
perfect
what?
for your next Easter egg hunt.
got to keep it fresh. Got to keep it fresh. I would say none of these are aimed at me or you or I, but you know what? Lots of people like lots of different colors, so they got to keep these things rolling out so people keep paying for them.
Well, one thing that I actually am impressed with is that they still make all the bands compatible going back to the very beginning, and that is actually very cool because a lot of people have a lot of these bands, and it is I do enjoy swapping them out, using different ones different times. So it's I'm glad it seems like the kind of thing where they would have switched over and then you'd be like, okay, now all of your old bands don't work, so please buy 50 more new ones from us, right?
I only need one or two great ones. Like I've grown to fall in love with the Alpine Loop, which comes with the Apple Watch Ultra, if you so choose. It's just really minimalist, and I love the design of it. It holds up really well. It's easy to put on. I heard a lot of people complain about this particular Apple Watch strap, but I love it. It's one of my all-time favorites, and the dark green one pretty much looks good with everything. Like that's the thing. Like if most guys just want something that looks good with anything that they wear. They're not trying to accessorize and like switch out bands all the time. You kind of need like two. You need like one that works with most of your clothes, and then you need one that dresses up your watch to make it look nicer. So I have the leather loop, which I wouldn't say that I love. I got the midnight one, I think, and it's a little bit too bluish for me. It looked darker in person. Like I wish they just made the leather link watch strap in black, because that's really all I want. It's just a black one, but they don't sell a black one. So I bought the blue one, and it's like, okay, it works. It works sometimes, but the problem is you can't always wear dark blue on your wrist depending on what you're wearing. So, but you really only just need two watch straps, unless you're Lewis. Then you need
what do
one
you do when you go diving with your Ultra there?
Well, I dive in the nude, so I don't wear a watch.
Oh, I see.
I just put the snorkel on and this, and I'm full dolphin, so there's no splash or anything. I just go right in, and I move my body like up and down like this to swim. It's a whole thing that I do. There's a whole group of us that do it together. Anyway, Lewis, we're getting off topic here. Let's move on from watch straps because I don't think anyone cares. Let's talk about Macs, Lewis. We got a new report from the Germinator, and we're talking about new Macs incoming, and finally a new iMac, which I thought was funny because he says that one of the most common questions that he's asked is when the next iMac is coming. And so if you've been waiting for that, we have some news specifically on that right now. I'm reading from the Bloomberg story here. Apple Inc.'s next iMac desktop is at an advanced stage of development called Engineering Validation Testing, or EVT for short, Lewis. That's an acronym.
Well done.
Let's see. The company is conducting production tests of the machine. The next iMac will continue to come in the same 24-inch size as the current model. That's a bummer. That's a bummer. I was hoping for
find
bigger.
that surprising.
Me too. Well, they're probably saving the larger size for the Pro, so there is still hope. The versions being tested also come in the same colors as the current iMac, a palette that includes blue, pink, silver, and orange. That's also kind of disappointing and sad. The new iMacs will, of course, be more powerful with a new M series chip to replace the M1. There will also be some behind-the-scenes changes. The computer will see some of its internal components relocated or redesigned. Like I heard they're going to put the screen on the back now. And then if you need to use it, you just use a mirror and you hold it back there. It seems strange to me that they would do that.
Wow, that seems really innovative.
Yeah, they're trying out new things. Let's see here. Aside from the iMac, Apple is scheduled to launch about 3 Macs between late spring and summer, I'm told. These 3 Macs are likely to be the 15-inch MacBook Air. Yeah, we've talked about that before. Although we've heard that might come in April. The first Mac Pro with homegrown Apple chips and an update to the 13-inch MacBook Air. The big remaining question is whether which processors these new Macs will run on. We already know that the Mac Pro will include the M2 Ultra. What we don't know is whether these new machines are going to run the M2 chip or the M3 chip. But we have some people saying that they're going to be the M3. Let me bring up this story here, Lewis, which I hope is the case. It kind of seems weird that would even be possible because I feel like we just started getting the M2. But we've got according to 9 to 5 Mac, oh my goodness, twice in one episode, Lewis? Twice in one episode?
Oh, really?
13-inch and 15-inch MacBook Pro or MacBook Air, pardon me, Lewis, reportedly will use Apple's M3 chip. Apple plans to use the entry-level variant of the M3 chip with an 8-core CPU in both new laptops, according to 9 to 5 Mac. Now, that'd be a pretty big win if they actually get that right. Cupertino apparently does not plan on offering a 15-inch MacBook Air with a more powerful Pro variant of its 3nm chip. That would be incredible. If they did a MacBook Air with like the M3 Pro.
MacBook Air Pro?
The MacBook Pro Air. I like that too. That would be a great machine for many people. Let's see here. Based on TSMC's 3nm node, Apple's M3 SoC should bring a noticeable jump in performance and efficiency. Let's see. According to the same report, Apple's also developing a 13-inch MacBook Pro with the same entry-level M3 SoC. The company purportedly considered dropping the Pro branding from this model last year, but eventually decided against it. So the MacBook Pro, they're also thinking about updating the MacBook Pro, the 13-inch.
Yeah. And that's the one with the touch bar.
Yeah.
Keeping the touch bar alive.
Well, probably it's cheaper for them to just leave that thing as is and just keep replacing the chip inside and just leave the body alone, since that's their lower end machine, which is hilarious because the touch bar, if you remember when they introduced it, they raised the price of the MacBook Pro, and part of the reasoning was, well, we're including the touch bar, it's all this extra technology, and now you have to pay them a premium to not get the touch bar. If you don't want the touch bar, you got to pay them extra, which I find to be pretty funny. So we have a whole slew of Macs on the way, new MacBook Airs, a potential new MacBook Pro. It looks like we have an iMac on the way, and then also eventually the Mac Pro, which is way far behind. So that was supposed to be replaced last year, I think, at the latest. And here we are. Let's see here. Not all Apple tipsters agree with when the machines, the MacBook Airs, should be released or will be released. Ross Young, who has a really good track record, he says that the 15-inch MacBook Air will launch in early April, which means it could use an M2 processor. I mean, who knows? I mean, we have no idea. But April's right around the corner. So I'll be excited to see what they do, because if they release a 15-inch MacBook Air, I think I might bite on that one, Lewis. That might be one of my next Macs, and it's gonna be dual purpose, of course. Like, I'll give it to my wife, and then I'll be using it a lot too. You know, maybe exclusively. Why are you snickering at me over there, Lewis?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking about getting my wife a new bass.
You know what your wife would really love, Lewis? a convertible Mustang. Maybe like nice V8 engine.
Here, honey, I got you a new car. I know you don't drive, but that's okay.
Oh, you don't want to drive it? Well, I guess I'll have to drive it then. Get her a new bass. Your wife would love a new bass. Does she know how to play bass, Lewis?
No, she does not.
Well, she'll be motivated to learn. But just in case, get her something that you enjoy too, just in case she decides that she'd rather not use it. Man, we flew through that news, Lewis. I think we're like almost done with all the Apple news already.
How can it be?
Yeah, I cruised through that really quick. So let me see.
Let's go back and talk about the Air mess.
Yeah, you want to talk about
again.
You want to talk about that for another 20 minutes? It really feels like we talked about that for what seemed like hours.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about something that's such a visual thing. I had such a bad reaction to that. Here's a $600 Apple Watch band.
Okay, hold on. I did see a comment in the chat that I thought was interesting about that. Let's see here. Unlike the Apple Watch, Streamlined going at it in the chat. He says the Hermes bands actually hold their value or can even appreciate in value. I find that hard to believe. Is that true? They appreciate in value an old Hermes strap? Really? I haven't seen any strap that appreciates in value. William Cochran says, why spend a lot of money on a watch that is worthless in a few years? At least a Rolex will keep working for many years and will be supported basically forever. Yeah, I feel like I share that same philosophy. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to buy a really expensive Apple Watch. And when they have that strategy of the editions, remember like the $15,000 edition watches? I was like, this makes no sense because it is a piece of technology and the basic functionality is the same as a watch that you can spend $300 for. Like it ruins the value of the high-end watch because it's not exclusive. Like it is the same watch as something that costs $300, but you're just paying to make it nicer. But then in a few years, the battery's going to die and it's going to be outdated and it's going to be slow. That never really made sense to me either. I mean, I don't mind spending $800 on the Ultra because it is a lot. It feels higher quality than the original Apple Watch or the regular Apple Watch, I should say. And there are some extra features, and it's made of titanium, so it is higher end. But $800 for a watch is expensive, I think, for a lot of people. I would definitely not argue with that. But it's not a Rolex, right? Like a Rolex is like a $20,000, piece of equipment that probably will appreciate if you take good care of it. Okay, William Cochran also wants to know, did you fix the Gen 1 speaker? Oh, yeah, the HomePod. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You guys want a quick HomePod update before we wrap up here? So I called Apple support yesterday. Lewis, actually, I was meaning to tell you this. And one of the first things that she said was, we're going to need to plug in your HomePod and reset it. Can we get it plugged into your Mac? And I said, oh,
what?
Is that a possibility? Like, where would I plug it in? And she goes, oh, well, you just want to plug it in with the USB-C cable. And I was like, okay, do I need to take the bottom off or something? Because there's nothing to plug it. And I start to realize she has no clue what she's talking about. She thinks that this thing has a USB-C port on it. I'm like, it does not.
I thought you were going to tell me that there's a hidden USB-C
no,
port.
There's not. There is a USB-C port. There is a USB-C connection, I should say, on the bottom of the HomePod. But it's a proprietary connection. There's no cable that you can buy that just connects to it.
Really?
It's just like the USB contacts. And so yeah, she had me go through all the troubleshooting steps that I already went through, and I realized like I actually know more about this problem than she does. She's probably just reading from a script. And so eventually she gave up and she said, "Oh, you need to take it to the Apple store." And I'm like, "Okay, they're probably not going to be able to help me either." So, yeah, long story short, it's still not fixed. And the major bummer of it is this. I was using the HomePods in a stereo pair. So replacing it, so I basically won't get the same functionality that I want without replacing both HomePods, right? So if I decide not to buy an old HomePod or the older generation HomePod to replace the one that's broken, then I essentially have to buy two new HomePods to get the stereo pair again, because the Gen 1 HomePod doesn't pair in a stereo pair with the Gen 2 HomePods. So it's actually a double slap in the face, because now I have to replace two HomePods instead of one if I want to do a stereo pair with them again. So I think I might just try to buy a used one. There's a guy on Craigslist in Seattle who's selling one. He wants $200 for his, I think, which is way overpriced, and it's been on there a month. I'm like, dude, no one's gonna pay you $200 for an old Gen 1 HomePod, especially now that the Gen 2s are out, because people don't realize that they're actually slightly worse. So I'm gonna lowball this guy. I don't normally throw out a lowball, but I'm gonna offer him $130 for it and see if he'll take it. And if he does, then I'll have a stereo pair again. But I don't know if I have any other options, because what else am I going to do? Buy 2 new HomePods, which are actually acoustically inferior to the old ones? You know what I mean?
I would take the thing into the Apple store and see if they have any way of diagnosing it. I mean,
I'll give it a shot. I mean, it's just such a major design flaw with the original HomePod that they can't. I'm almost positive this was caused by a bad software update, because it did it on its own when I wasn't here. And that's usually when the updates are applied, right? And then I come in and all of a sudden it's just not working. And I wasn't even using it, and all of a sudden it stops working. So it seems to me like that's the problem. And the fact that they don't have a way of actually clearing out that software and resetting the speaker is such a major oversight, and also such a strong argument for including some kind of port on every device so that you can plug it in if you need to. Like if the iPhone goes portless, are we going to run into these same kinds of problems? Probably not. They'll probably design some way in. But if you can't communicate with a phone over Wi-Fi and you can't plug it in, and the update fails, is your phone going to be bricked too? That seems to be the problem. That doesn't make me feel good about having a portless phone.
I was just looking at the iFixit teardown of the HomePod. It said that there's I guess this is what you're talking about, a 14-pin connector in there, but it's
right.
like,
Let me see if I can find this.
It's below a layer of strong adhesive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's glued. The cover's glued onto it. So
let's see. Yeah, here we go. Let me bring this up. So, yeah, there it is. So there is HomePod's hidden 14-port connection, which clearly you got to have a special cable to access.
It seems crazy that they wouldn't make that, accessible, easily accessible.
Somebody on Twitter sent me a video of this guy who repairs HomePods, and there's all these different problems that can occur with HomePods, and a lot of them can be fixed if you just replace the part. But this specific problem where the volume buttons are just blinking on and off, it seems to be a software issue. And I was reading this guy's blog post about this, and he was saying if Apple would just give us a way to clear the speaker of the old software, we could get this working again. It's actually not even a hardware problem. But because we can't do that, there's no way to do it, these speakers are basically bricked. And they're just not supporting them anymore, which seems like a huge, man, it's frustrating, because like this is not something that should happen with an Apple product. An Apple product that's only 5 years old, and you can't get any resolution at all. It just breaks itself. And this seems to be like a somewhat common problem. And it's clearly a design flaw, and Apple just won't even help you out at all. Because normally Apple products last forever, right? You can buy a MacBook and it will last 7 to 8 years. There's a whole culture of people who keep their MacBooks forever, and they last and last and last and last. And then eventually they replace them just because they become too slow to actually use in modern day computing. But for an Apple product just to break like this for no actual reason, it's not like you dropped it or anything. I think it's a black eye in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's not like audio got so much better and it just can't handle it. It's just it's honestly, it seems like something that I'm surprised they haven't been sued over. Big class action lawsuit.
I wonder how common it is. But there's this problem. There's the iPhone or the HomePod fart of death. Like that's the other issue, right?
Maybe they just didn't sell enough for there to be a class action lawsuit that's worthy of.
There's only like 50 of us. So what I need to do is get us all together, fill out some kind of petition,
make a pot of coffee, talk it out,
and maybe we'll just send an email to Tim Cook with all of us on CC. Well. So I'll let you all know if I get any satisfactory resolution to this. Because here's the thing, I need to do more testing, but it's pretty clear to me that the new HomePods don't sound as good as the old ones. And so I don't really want to replace them, my old HomePods, with new ones because they aren't going to sound as good. And also, I'm going to have to buy 2 to get the stereo pair again. And then what am I going to do with the old HomePod that still works? I guess I could just use it as a speaker in my house, but that seems like an awful shame. And so I think my solution is going to be to buy a used one and just replace it with a used one and see how much more life I can get out of that stereo pair.
Hope it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, well, my other one's farting, so now I'm like, is it dangerous to use that in a stereo pair? Because it seems like it might be on its way out too.
Good grief.
So I don't know what to do, but it's definitely a major problem when you have a stereo pair and you can't use them in a stereo pair unless you buy an old one or replace them entirely with 2 new ones. It's just not cool, man.
Sounds like you should turn off automatic software updates.
Yeah, you might be right about that. Something in the update, I think, bricked it. But all right, let's wrap up with this last story. Now you're making me sad, Lewis. This is going to make everyone happy, though. So I was surprised to see this. Outlook has gone free. Outlook for Mac has gone free, Lewis. And Lewis was like, should I use Outlook? I'm like, dude, not everyone needs Outlook, but it is a powerful app. And I'm kind of surprised that they're giving it away for free, Lewis. What's the details on this?
I think you just gave the whole thing away. Microsoft no longer charges for Outlook for Mac. It's free to use, no subscription fee, nothing. You can use it for iCloud, Gmail, a bunch of other email account types. It also, I guess, it includes a calendar. I haven't used Microsoft Outlook in years and years, so I don't know. I'm not exactly that. I'm not super stoked about it. I mean, I don't even use. I just use Gmail in a browser, which is probably.
I think that's what a lot of people use. Yeah.
I don't feel like it's the best email situation, but every time I try to switch over to mail, I find honestly, it's because I've been using Gmail for, however long, so many years. I'm just used to it. And I every time I look at mail, I'm like, oh, that seems like that's a better solution. The next thing I know, I'm using Gmail.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, Apple Mail, I think everyone uses it because it's basic and it's free. But it doesn't have as many features as Outlook, which is both a pro and a con depending on where you're coming from. Like if you don't need a lot of features, I think it's easy to get overwhelmed by Outlook because it has so much stuff built in. But if you have a lot of email accounts, then it is a really great tool for your calendar, for managing different email accounts, for setting reminders, for managing your email. And it has features that Apple Mail just doesn't have. And so I'm kind of tempted to actually try this out again and see how well it works because I have so many email addresses. Apple Mail is way too basic for me. And also the search in Mail is just really terrible. Have you ever noticed like you'll be searching for something, especially on the iPhone in Mail, and it just can't find it? And then I'll go into Gmail and I'll type out what I'm looking for and it's like, boom, right to the top. It goes right to the top.
Really?
And I think Outlook is similar. Like it's really easy to find specific messages that you're looking for. It's easy to archive stuff and maintain your archive and look through your archive. There's just a lot of stuff that Outlook does pretty well. And the calendar functionality is also very powerful. So yeah, I know Outlook is too complicated. Christoph is saying that in the chat. Yeah, I agree. It is complicated. But it might be worth the complication if you need the features. And they've really streamlined a lot of Outlook so that it's easier to use. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll give it another shot and just see how I like it compared to Apple Mail. I mean, now that it's free, this is what I was telling Lewis. Like Outlook, I think, was one of the biggest draws of a Microsoft Office subscription. And now that they're giving it away for free, like I really was surprised by this move because I don't really know what the angle is here. Aside from maybe charging you for storage space or something, or trying to sell you other features that Microsoft thinks that you might need, because this was one of the main reasons people bought Office was to use Outlook, and now Outlook is just free. So I think it's definitely worth a second look. You should use it, Lewis. You should check it out, and we should talk about it.
Oh, jeez. And do they have it on the iPhone too? I guess
they got
must,
Outlook on the iPhone too. Mm-hmm.
I wonder how it syncs. That's the.
I mean, it probably syncs just fine.
You think it works just fine, huh?
Yeah, it probably syncs exactly like Apple Mail. You know? And it's way more full featured. The thing that I'm wondering is does the search work better? Because Apple Mail search on the iPhone sucks. It never finds
features do you like about it?
Oh man, I think I like the way that it manages emails better. Like it will show you your replies. You could probably do this in Apple Mail too, but with Outlook, it's always done a good job at showing your replies in line in your thread, and I like the way it threads conversations. I like how you can do this in Apple Mail now too, but I like how you could like flag stuff and create reminders out of them to like take action on them later, which I don't know if you can do that in Apple Mail. I think you can flag stuff, but you can't create to-dos based off of a specific email. I haven't tried that, so don't quote me on that. It also has a built-in to-do list. So it's just a really nice unified solution. You don't have to go into like different apps and do all these different things. So I don't know. It's just a different philosophy of managing your emails and your to-dos and all that kind of stuff. Let's see here. Level Remix says Excel, greater than Word, greater than Outlook, greater than PowerPoint. Yeah, of course Excel is the GOAT, right? Like, you know, if you need to do anything, like who uses numbers, man? Apple numbers compared to Excel? I mean, it's just a joke. Let's see here. Streamline. Outlook is handy on the Mac if your friends use Outlook for PC and use lots of formatting stuff. Yeah, that's also true. Outlook on the web works spectacular. Oh, there you go. Okay, so you can use Outlook on the web. So, I don't know. I mean, we all just use Mail. I use Mail too, but I would say it probably doesn't give me as many features as to manage my emails and do to-dos and manage my calendar as well as Outlook does. So now I'm curious. Now I might have to do a test and report back.
The price is right for sure.
Well, now that it's free, yeah, exactly. It's like you might as well give it a shot, although it's definitely going to be a learning curve to go from Mail to Outlook. Lewis, I think that's it.
Yeah?
I think that's all we got.
It's a new record.
We kind of went short today, but we juggernauted our way through all that Apple news this week. That's why.
Was it 30-plus minutes?
Barely.
Oh.
I think we might be at 40 or 50.
Don't want to be liars.
No, we're definitely at the plus. We definitely hit plus territory. We always do. We're never less than 30 minutes, that's for sure. All right, all. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? If you want the fun to continue, Lewis and I are both on the new Twitter, duking it out. I'm at Airfon, ERFON. Lewis is at Lewis Wallace. This has been the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for listening, for hanging out live. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys all next time. Not too loud, Lewis? Am I damaging your sensitive ears? I don't want to take you from gold status to silver status. Hearing loss.
I was just looking to see if the torrential downpour has started yet.
Yeah? Oh, man, that'd be crazy if some kind of crazy storm blew in while we were filming and it sucked you right out of the house and up into the air.
It just won't stop raining in San Francisco.
Really?
It's crazy.
Oh, man. I mean, I would feel terrible if that happened to you, but think of the clicks, Lewis. Video on demand. Man gets sucked out of house during live podcast. You got to move to somewhere with more tornadoes.
Sounds like a winner.
Do it for the viewers, Lewis. All right. It's all my throat can handle. I'm going to hurtle towards the end stream button. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Hey, hit that like button for us on the way out. Just tickle that like button. Bye, y'all. Another show in the books. Another fantastic